It's
And so, welcome back, Rio Grande Guardian viewers. Great to be back with you. Before I introduce our very special guest today, I want to tell you where we're filming. We're filming from the eBridge Center for Business and Commercialization in downtown Brownsville. I want to give a shout out to our partners in crime, Brownsville Community Improvement Corporation. They allow us to use the eBridge Center, and we're very pleased to be doing that, to do as many video podcasts from this center as possible. It's funny, I was at the RGV StartUp Week event in Pharr a week or so back, and Mr. Ron Garza, Economic Development Director for UTRGV, was really praising eBridge and what a center it is for commercialization, for entrepreneurialism. As an incubator, it was the best in the Valley, Ron said, and I'm not going to disagree with that. So very pleased to be filming here from eBridge today. And so on to our special guest, Ramiro Gonzalez, who is the Director of Development for Origo Works. Ramiro, great to see you again.
great to see you.
And I've got to say, and you're aware of this, why I really wanted to do a podcast today. You were the moderator on an incredible panel discussion during RGV Startup Week a couple of weeks ago. You had 4 panelists. You had Ramiro Alaman from the Cameron County Economic Development Division, Ricardo Rubiano from Rubio Group Capital. You had Alex Garza, partner and managing broker for ICO Real Estate, and Mary Carmen Cadena, an industrial real estate broker at CRE. And I think it was one of the best panel discussions of the whole week. I really do.
Well, I happen to think so as well.
Yeah. We're in agreement there.
Yeah.
So you tell us, what was the subject? What were you hoping to get out of that panel discussion from those 4 distinguished guests? And did you learn anything new?
Well, I think we learned a lot of things. I think it ended up kind of working out the way that I had envisioned it. The way, we set out with the subject being nearshoring, and this conversation of, well, are we seeing the effects of nearshoring in the Valley? If we're not, why not? And if we are, why, right? And so that's really kind of the inspiration for the panel. And I really thought it was, I reached out to Mari Carmen, and I really kind of wanted to put that great conversation together. And so it just, as the conversation went along, we ended up where we ended up. I think I learned a lot of things. One of the questions was, where is nearshoring? What is it happening? And so I know that Mari Carmen, basically, I learned that, at least in the state of Tamaulipas, we've kind of missed the nearshoring boat, right? And she said that. I'm not saying that. She said it. She was very optimistic about the state of Tamaulipas being set up from a labor force perspective, and to attract hopefully a car maker, right? That would then obviously have the ripple effect that they've been wanting. But so far, Tamaulipas has not had that opportunity, right? So I learned that. We learned, I think you had an article yesterday or a couple of days ago, Ramiro Alaman, hey, traffic is up at Los Indios. That was very surprising, just because you always hear about Los Indios and you always kind of hear that it's never been used, it's not really used, traffic is slow, that kind of stuff. So I'm glad that you highlighted that, because, hey, that's a good stat, 150% up from last year. That's great, right? And then Alex provided some good insights. And then you had Ricardo Rubiano and his vision for the Valley industry and industrial real estate, and where things are headed. So I think it was a lively discussion, and but those are kind of the things that I learned.
Did you put the 4 panelists together?
I did.
Because I think your company, Origo Works, sponsored it.
Yeah. So we basically, I have a very good relationship with Nathan and the BCIC and eBridge, and we're here in Brownsville. We're based out of Brownsville. I used to work at the city, as you know. And so really the idea came of, hey, let's have a conversation. And I said it in one of the earlier panels is, real estate is also part of entrepreneurship, right? A lot of people, whether you're buying a second home, whether you're buying a short-term rental unit, whether, you're investing in some sort of a piece of property, that's entrepreneurship as it is, right? Because some people say, well, what do these panels have to do with entrepreneurship? But if you really boil it down to, real estate is a form of entrepreneurship as well, right? Even at the most basic level of you're buying a house today and you're wanting to sell the house for more in 5, 7, 10 years, right? So that builds wealth, it builds, that kind of stuff. And so we put the panels together, a way to highlight Cameron County. And we felt very, very happy about it. We hope that we'll have another round next year. I think RGV Startup Week has been a tremendous success. And I think I've seen the growth from the first year to the second year, and I think it's only going to get bigger from the second year to the third year.
So I mentioned this in advance, so this is coming. You seem to give a little prod at Ricardo to say, hey, Pharr's getting a lot of activity. There's a lot of investment in the Pharr area. What about Brownsville? That's how it came across to me. You were asking, why is it that Brownsville hasn't seen that level of investment? Fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, there's, it's not any surprising that it's no surprise to anybody in either the real estate industry or in this industry that you work in. There's a lot of traffic on the Pharr Bridge, right? And, what I was kind of trying to get at is obviously that traffic is spurring investment on both sides of the border, more on this side. And it's really more focused on produce and all that kind of stuff. But I've also heard through the grapevine that a lot of the fuel trucks cross in Pharr, right? And there seems to be this comfort level at the Pharr Bridge. Kudos to Pharr, right? And I don't know if any of the other bridges have that, right? We know Los Indios has got some intake. We didn't really talk about Gateway or Veterans Bridge and that kind of stuff. But yeah, and then you also have, obviously there's a little bit of a stark difference there's been, from an industrial perspective, there's a lot of development happening. You can tell, you cover it, in the Pharr McAllen area, and Brownsville, or the Cameron County, it's been lagging behind. But so that's where I was trying to kind of get some more information and get that conversation started.
But I can tell you that I would say from an upper valley perspective, the thinking up there is it's only a matter of time. Look at the assets you have going for you here in the lower valley with everything that's happening at the Port of Brownsville plus SpaceX, that it's just going to explode, and it's starting to happen. Do you think you're a local developer here in Brownsville? Do you see that?
Well, Origo develops anywhere from Austin to Brownsville to the entire valley to Rio Grande City. But yeah, we see that. We see that in Brownsville. One of the exciting things that I think GBIC is the discussion is starting to happen is, and now that I believe, SpaceX seems to be communicating to the world that they're here, right? Because if you rewind 4 or 5 years ago, I think the discussion was always like, is SpaceX staying? Are they not? Are they leaving? Are they going? And so I'm excited to see, and I know GBIC is pushing and saying and communicating that, hey, the suppliers to a SpaceX are now starting to look at Brownsville because SpaceX is communicating that, hey, I'm here to stay, right? So, from just a citizen perspective, it's very interesting to see how that all plays out, right? And obviously, with more development, obviously there's more real estate opportunities and that kind of stuff.
As you say, you're a Brownsville native and you work for the city. is it in any way looking forward into the future? Is it in any way detrimental that maybe all the media coverage around the world, whenever there's a rocket launching, may no longer say shooting rockets out of Brownsville, but out of space Starbase? Yeah, a big deal.
I think it was part of the conversation. If you caught, I started to ask about Matamoros and SpaceX, and you're still going to land in Brownsville. Odds are you're going to stay either at the island or Brownsville. You're going to dine. You're going to experience the city. You're not going to. There's SpaceX out there, but there's not a city, right? So I think as a visitor, I think you're going to stick to the edges and see the launch. There's this element that we talked about in the panel, and I've known it for a while. The best place to see it is Matamoros, right? And so it is and for two reasons. One of them, it's as the crow flies. It is the shortest distance from the edge of the beach or the river to the launch site, but also the prevailing winds here are southwest, right? So whenever the rocket launches, the winds are pushing the debris north. So you have a very, very clear picture. And so I know there's kind of and Mari Carmen brought it up, there's kind of the little informal industry boiling up in people flying into Brownsville and actually, having tours, out to Playa Baghdad, right? And apparently, what she said, there's parties and barbecues and so I think, that's kind of an interesting thing. Matamoros was never even on the radar. I don't think they had SpaceX on the radar until that first launch came, right?
And they saw
they saw a benefit, right? And so
we can expect to see a spike in house prices in Matamoros.
Who knows? That's I had the opportunity to travel to San Diego one time, and we would get Ubers everywhere, and if you asked the Uber drivers where most of them lived in Ensenada, most of them lived in Tijuana, most of them because of housing prices. So it's funny you bring that up, that in other parts of the border, there is more. We have movement going back and forth, but I think other parts of the border have more living on the other side. And you know what I'm saying?
So an overall big picture viewpoint, how is industrial development occurring in Brownsville? Is everything going well?
I think there's some projects coming up. You obviously have Amazon, that is an industrial user. It's a warehouse. I think there's the North Brownsville Industrial Park with GBIC has announced some stuff. A lot of it is logistics for now. And I think we talked about it on the panel. Some of these decisions are potentially being delayed by the instability and the tariffs and all the stuff that we don't control. But I think I'm optimistic that as some of that stuff settles, we're going to be in a good position from the city perspective and attracting development.
And moving on to GBEC, as you are aware, GBEC, the city of Brownsville, and the port went on this very important trade mission to Monterey just last week at one of the Marriott hotels. And I'm told that there were 60 to 70 potential investors in the audience, that those important groups within the Brownsville leadership were interacting with. With your sources, have you had any feedback as to how that went? I'm told it was a really productive meeting. That's got to portend well for the city.
Well, I think there's been multiple trips to Monterrey from what you've reported and what I've also heard. I think this could have potentially is kind of a culmination of those efforts, right? And an ongoing, steady. You got to be there, right? You got to go, you got to visit. I know they were with the governor, and so the governor is really aggressive on development. And so yeah, I think you got to do those things. Those things are good. I think there's also an opportunity to, and I think Ricardo brought this up on the panel. How do you leverage the? I mean, I know a lot of the focus is usually investors bringing in capital, right? But how do you make the capital that's here work more efficiently and work together? And I think that's Ricardo was alluding to that towards the end of our panel, which says, hey, not that we don't need the people from the outside, but I want to do things, and I'm here, and I'm from here, right? So how many people are there like that, right? And should the city, because I think he was saying, hey, we should all get together, we should all convene, right, and say, hey, is there a project that we can work on together? Is there a project that we can split up? How do we do it? So I think there's an opportunity. Yeah, you always have to kind of, you always want to have those efforts, external efforts. But I think there's also an opportunity, not only Brownsville, I think, because Ricardo brought it up, it was not only Brownsville, it was the entire valley. Every city in the valley has an opportunity to leverage their local capital, right, and make that work better.
That's been one of Ricardo's themes in recent times. There's very good developers here. Let us have a slice of the action. He says that to the cities around the valley. It's great to bring it out, like you say, outside investment in, but there's talented people here that can do a lot, given an opportunity.
Absolutely. Yeah. Or they have been doing a lot. I mean, imagine, much like Origo has been around for 20 years. They've done a great job in their developments. We continue to do a good job and push from a design perspective and put things that actually look nice. They've done that on their own, much like Ricardo, right? He's done what he's done on his own, right? So I think that opportunity is there to kind of bring that conversation, to bring those players together, even here locally, and say, hey, how do we work? Right? Because there's opportunities for everybody.
And my last question is how things going with Origo Works. You've always got a lot of projects on the go. Anything you want to tell the viewers about your company?
Yeah. So, Origo is always open to opportunities. Like I said, we're investing right now. We have four projects that are currently in construction. We have one in Buda, one in Bulverde, just north of San Antonio. We have one in Harlingen, just south of our very successful Stewart Place center. And then we have one at the Port of Brownsville. We have one a 48 and 511 basically. And, those are all under construction. Different. One's almost done. One's just getting started. So I won't get into those details. But we are investing. We are excited, and we see the opportunity.
Well, those are all the questions I had, Ramiro. Is there anything I've missed? Anything else you want to add?
No. Thank you for being here. Thank you for having me in the conversation. I think when I obviously I moderated the panel, but when I left the panel, I was like, man, this was a really good conversation, right? And so we just need to have more of that. And so hopefully we can be, Origo and, us and everybody, we need to convene and keep having those conversations.
What a great way to end. Yeah. Very, very important remarks there, Ramiro. Couldn't agree with you more. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.